Skeletons of the Marital Closet by Tang. Chapter 1781. Gale was speechless. Hurry up. Can you behave normally, Joshua Wood? Joshua nodded, very satisfied. Not bad, say it again. Joshua Wood, you. Ah, yes, that's it. Mommy, remember, don't call my name wrongly in the future. My name is Joshua Wood, he said. He nodded to himself and then looked at Shawn, waving his hand. Goodbye, I'm going to kindergarten. You guys continue. Gale chuckled, helplessly. Shawn, you have overreached yourself. He'll hold grudges if you can't deliver later. What can't be done, Gale? In fact, I suddenly feel that there should be a star dedicated to witnessing our love. Forever up high in the sky, forever sparkling, forever dazzling. Huh? Gale blinked, not reacting at first. Shawn Gale Star. How about this name? Shawn said. Gale still had a dazed expression. She thought it was just a playful trick to appease Joshua, but when Shawn said, Shawn Gale Star, her heart suddenly thumped uncontrollably. It sounded really nice. Not nice? No. It sounds very nice, Gale said. Then it's settled. He had a pensive expression as if considering which star to name that. Gale asked quietly, can you really have the naming rights to a star? Yes. Scientists usually have the right to name stars that they have discovered. However, some naming rights would be auctioned off. The person who won the bid could name the star as they wished, and it would be recognized worldwide. In the future, when someone sees this star through a telescope, they will know its name. With Shawn's wealth, buying the naming rights to a star would be a drop in the ocean. However, he had never considered this before. He felt it was meaningless and unnecessary. The stars were plentiful, but now it was different. Every time he looked up at the night sky, seeing a particular star and knowing it was named after them, he would feel good. Having a star named after their love was so romantic. Loving someone meant presenting the best and most eternal things to her. Loving someone meant creating romance rather than considering gestures meaningless and unnecessary. Gale's eyes sparkled like the stars in the night sky. Isn't this your way of bribing Joshua? Now you're using it to bribe me, she said softly. Not bribing, it's a gift. I just feel that you should also have a star. I'm not a child. In my heart, you are a child. Shawn ruffled her hair. Never grow up and always rely on me. Chapter 1782. Gale was actually overjoyed. Who could resist a star as a gift? How romantic was that? There would always be a star existing in the universe in the name of her and Shawn's love. Even many years later, when both of them no longer existed in this world, that star would continue to shine. That's settled then. Let's call it the Shawn Gale Star. He believed that good things were meant to be shared with Gale too. Gale snuggled in his embrace. Do you think Joshua will feel like we're copying him? He wanted the naming rights for the star, but we ended up getting it. These parents were a handful, coveting things their children wanted. One for his name, one for ours. It has no relation, Shawn said. When we get this gift for him, I think Joshua will definitely call you Daddy out loud. Shawn raised an eyebrow. He'll call me that eventually. Let him be stubborn for now, I'm not in a rush. I'm really happy, Gale looked up at him. Suddenly we have a gift from the stars. When the time comes, you can see it through a telescope. You'll like it even more. With stars twinkling all around, there would always be one that belonged to them. I like it. Shawn, I would like anything you give me. It was not so much of the gift, but the sentiment behind it. The two of them hugged quietly, without any other intimate gestures. Yet, everyone in Temperley Hall could feel the sweet affection emanating from them. No one approached to disturb them. Standing there, two people who truly love each other would feel incredibly harmonious. Happy people, joy written all over their faces. Meanwhile, 1 mile away from the house, a black car parked by the roadside. Orm sat in the driver's seat, his once gentle demeanor completely gone. He was in a foul mood. Why on earth, he muttered under his breath, slamming a fist heavily on the steering wheel. He was unwilling to resign to his fate. When he got the photos from the paparazzi, he thought he could make Shawn and Gale quarrel. Although it would not lead to their breakup, it would at least create some emotional rifts. However, nothing happened. So, Orm separately sent intimate photos of Shawn and Ivy to Lucas, Peter, and Mary. As Orm wished, the three recipients of the photos had a drastic change in expression and rushed to Gale and Shawn immediately. Now, Orm thought, there would be a good show to watch. He had been waiting to see what would transpire in Temperley Hall. However, nothing happened. Even worse, not long after, the three elders left one after another, still smiling. How did things not go as he wished and, even worse, get so far from his imagination? These photos did not even make a ripple. It was all for nothing. Orm slammed the steering wheel several times again. It's okay, it's okay. His expression gradually turned cold. There will be another time, there will be another chance. I'll consider this practice. Chapter 1783. Orm also learned a lesson from this incident. It seemed that petty tricks were not enough to shake up Shawn and Gale's feelings for each other. They had a solid foundation of many years of affection, having weathered many storms and now trusting each other deeply. Plus, they had a child together, and they were already set as life partners. If he were going to attack, he needed to come at them with everything he got. If he was going to play, he should play big. Suddenly, his phone rang. Orm grabbed it. Hello. Mr. Lefting, you have a meeting scheduled with the director at 9 in the morning, and it's almost time. Can you make it on time, or should I ask the director to wait for you? His assistant said. I'm on my way. Okay, Mr. Lefting. Orm smiled. Ask the director to have Ivy come over to discuss the female lead's matters. Yes. Orm tossed his phone onto the passenger seat and started the car toward the Lefting group. Since the first plan had completely failed, he had to start working on the next. Orm could not wait. He could not stand seeing Shawn and Gale's sweet love. The sooner he acted, the sooner he could get Gale. Not long after Orm's car drove off, Shawn's car pulled out of Temperley Hall, heading toward Wood Group. The two cars did not intersect. Meanwhile, Ivy was currently at Wood Group. Fiona and the lawyers from the legal department were handling her contract matters. Her agent sat beside her, smiling obsequiously. Ivy, congratulations. From now on, you're part of the Wood Group. Who else in the entertainment industry has such a powerful backing? Thank you. This agent was also a well-known figure in the industry, having nurtured many A-list stars. Many artists were proud to be under his wing, thinking that as long as this agent took them on, they would definitely become famous and establish themselves in the entertainment industry. This led to the agent having high standards and a temper. He was also firm in his decisions. What he said was final, and the artists under him could not refuse. If they did, they would not get any good opportunities next time, but be sidelined. Now, this famous agent was smiling in front of Ivy. Ivy could not help but find it ironic. The agent continued, although you're not under me anymore, we've been together for a long time. When we meet again in the future and you've made it big, don't forget about me. Ivy had no choice but to respond, of course. You've been my agent, I'll remember this favor. In the whole entertainment industry, there really isn't a person as lucky as you. Being noticed by Mr. Wood, chosen, redeemed, gaining freedom, and having lots of resources was all fate. Ivy smiled. We're all still in this industry, we will have plenty of chances to collaborate. I was worried that now I'm not under the company anymore, you wouldn't pay attention to me or support me. How could that be? The agent hastily said, I've always thought that you'll be the most successful and famous among the artists I've managed. Look, it's already coming true today. He began incessantly flattering Ivy. Ivy, the director asked me to pass on a message to you. How should I put it? We've also been your old supporters, having worked together for so many years, paving the way to your stardom. Wood Group is the leading company in Sea City. They have both money and resources. Chapter 1784. Afterward, if the company invests in any dramas or sponsorship deals, you've got to remember to mention us in front of Mr. Wood. Ivy smiled. How could I speak up in front of Mr. Wood? Ivy responded. Oh come on, you're kidding. Only what you say matters. Us unimportant people never even get to see Mr. Wood in person. Ivy's agent replied. Fiona, who was discussing contracts with a lawyer, overheard Ivy and her agent's conversation. She glanced at the two, then quickly looked away. Obviously, the agent misunderstood the relationship between Mr. Wood and Ivy. Normally, Ivy would not explain because the misunderstanding was actually beneficial to her. In the future, anyone who saw her would immediately think that she had his backing. Fiona did not anticipate Ivy's next words. You're overthinking it. Mr. Wood and I have a normal working relationship. He's also my big boss now. I'm just a small employee, how could I possibly influence Mr. Wood's thoughts? Ivy responded. The agent did not believe her, patting her hand with a knowing expression. All right, let's not beat around the bush. We both know what's going on. I've conveyed the boss's intentions, you figure it out. Ivy shrugged. To be honest, I can't even see Mr. Wood. She really could not. She could not even get past the front desk to say a word of thanks. The contract matters were all handled by Fiona and the legal department. Everything Ivy said was true, but nobody believed her. To prove her point, Ivy looked at Fiona. Fiona, am I right? Mr. Wood's schedule is packed, and seeing him requires an appointment. The queue is stretched out to next month. When would I even get a chance? Fiona nodded. Exactly. Mr. Wood's schedule is full. See, I'm not refusing to help, but I really can't. Of course, I still remember my old employer's kindness. I'll help as much as I can within my abilities, Ivy said. She did not want to beat around the bush, relying on Mr. Wood's reputation to enjoy special treatment in the entertainment industry. It was not her style, and she could not bring herself to do such a thing. Fiona looked at Ivy with a newfound appreciation. While others were trying to establish connections with President Wood, she was doing the opposite, trying to distance herself. Fiona approached with the contract. Ms. Ivy, take a look. If it's all good, you can sign and stamp. Ivy took it, flipped to the last page without glancing, and signed quickly. Fiona was surprised. Ms. Ivy. No need to look. She smiled slightly. I trust Mr. Wood and Mrs. Wood. Just then, Ivy's phone rang. Sorry, I need to take this call. She walked away. Hello, how can I help you? Ivy answered the phone. The person on the other end spoke briefly, and Ivy's face lit up with joy as she responded enthusiastically, All right, I have time. I can come over now. Please wait for me. After hanging up, Ivy could not contain her excitement. Fiona, do you need me to do anything else here? Is the contract process completed? She asked. It's done. Ms. Ivy, do you have good news? Fiona could not help but ask. She was meticulous and perceptive, qualities that kept her by Shawn's side. If Mr. Wood asked about the details of the contract signing later, she had to be able to answer each question. That was why Fiona had been able to stay by Shawn's side all this time. Chapter 1785. Ivy nodded. Yes. I just received a call from a director inviting me to discuss the role of the female lead in a major production. It's a big-budget film, and I'm honored to have this opportunity. Oh, I see. Congratulations, the agent replied. Upon hearing this, the agent hurriedly asked, Ivy, you just signed with the Wood Group, and you've already got your first opportunity so quickly? Which movie is it? Who is the director? And who's funding it? The script is still being prepared. I've met the investor, Mr. Lefting from Lefting Group. Oh. You've even caught Mr. Lefting's attention? In Sea City, the Lefting Group holds significant influence. The agent exclaimed enviously. It's just tentative, nothing's finalized yet. I'm going over there now. Ivy hurried away. Meanwhile, Fiona wore a pensive expression. After completing her tasks, she went to the president's office. Shawn had just arrived and was taking off his suit jacket. What's up? He asked, nonchalantly. Mr. Wood, Ivy's contract has been transferred to Wood Group, and I've completed the handover. Do you need to review the contract? Fiona asked. No need. Ivy's matters are all in your hands. There's no need to consult me, Shawn replied. Yes. However, when Ivy takes on acting roles or advertisements, will you not intervene or inquire? Fiona continued. Up to her. Shawn did not care, let alone concern himself. He had done what he needed, and the rest was up to Ivy. Fiona pondered for a moment. When Ivy signed the contract today, she received a call from Mr. Lefting, inviting her to play the female lead in a movie he's investing in. Shawn's indifferent expression suddenly froze. Orem? Yes, Mr. Wood. When did Orem start getting involved in the film industry and become an investor? And he specifically requested Ivy for the role? Shawn leaned back, his expression changing. Fiona replied, it was not a direct request from Mr. Lefting. The director called Ivy. Shawn coldly snorted and tapped his fingers on the desk. He's the investor, so the director naturally listens to him. If he wants someone to play a role, that person has the qualification. Moreover, Shawn could predict that when Orem would talk about investing in this movie, he would definitely claim that he did not interfere with the director's casting decisions, respecting artistic freedom and other diplomatic statements. However, it was all nonsense. At this moment, everything Orem did undoubtedly had ulterior motives. What was he trying to do? In theory, Orem had already used Ivy indirectly once, obtaining intimate photos of Shawn and Ivy. For this second step, was Orem still using Ivy as bait? After a moment of thought, Shawn instructed, Fiona, find 2 spies to keep an eye on Orem. Be discreet, so as not to alert him. Yes, Mr. Wood. If there are any unusual circumstances with Orem, report to me immediately. Do not delay. Fiona acknowledged his instructions. Shawn tapped his fingertips on the desk and looked into the distance. The silent showdown between him and Orem had begun. Orem knew that Shawn was not to be trifled with, he would definitely notice something. Chapter 1786. Shawn also knew that Orem would do everything possible to cover his tracks and leave no evidence behind to avoid being caught red-handed. So, it would come down to who could outsmart who. Both Shawn and Orem knew what the other wanted to do, but neither could show it, let alone make it public. Orem would not be foolish enough to admit it voluntarily. Shawn would not be foolish enough to accuse Orem without evidence. Shawn sneered, speaking to himself, Orem, trying to steal my woman would not end up well. He used to hold Orem in some regard because Orem genuinely helped Gale and was a true gentleman who never did anything to wrong her. It was thanks to Orem's careful care that she got through the 4 years when Gale faked her death. However, the Orem now made Shawn feel he was treacherous. One day, Orem's true colors would be revealed, and when that day came, the thought made Shawn's brow furrow. He wondered what Gale would think. Her most trusted friend, the person who helped her the most, was now secretly starting to do shady things behind her back. It would be best if Orem stopped here and now without taking any further action. That way, Shawn could turn a blind eye, pretending nothing happened, and consider Orem's actions as a moment of resentment and impulse, which could be forgiven. However, if it continued, only a dead end awaited Orem. In the jewelry department of Wood Group, Gale sat at her desk, propping up her chin, glancing at the computer screen, then at Summer's office. She felt nosy and wanted to ask Summer about the progress she and Joe had made. Did she agree or not? Are they together or not? However, she knew that asking might interrupt Summer's progress. What if she said something wrong and upset Summer, making her doubt Joe? Gale sighed, changing hands, to continue propping up her chin. Behind her, she heard cheerful hums. Peach? Gale turned to look. Why are you so happy? Peach's eyes were clear and clean. Huh? Nothing really. Do not hide it from me. You're humming. Come on, share the good news with me. There's really nothing, Gale. I still have work to do. With that, Peach picked up her bag from the side and started stuffing documents and files inside. Where are you off to? Gale asked, then suddenly remembered something. Oh, are you going to see Sam? Peach's face blushed instantly, and she quickly said, Shoo, keep it down, do not let anyone hear. Going to see Mr. Carson is your job, so what if anyone hears? Only those who are not open-minded would be afraid of others knowing. Gale, stop teasing me. Gale smiled like a gleeful matchmaker after seeing Peach's shy yet expectant expression. It was obvious Peach was in love. Chapter 1787. Alright, I won't tease you. Take your time, there's nothing urgent in the department. Don't rush back. If there's anything, I'll handle it for you. Just relax and spend some more time with Sam. It'd be best to have a meal together and build your relationship. Gale said. Sam is very busy, Gale. He's been working overtime until past 10 every day. His eyes are all red, I doubt he's been sleeping well at night. Feeling sorry for him? Then take a bottle of eye drops with you and give it to him. Peach blinked. I already brought it. Oh, wait, I have something else. Take this and give it to Sam. Gale opened a drawer and took out a sachet. This is for sleep. It contains aromatherapy herbs. Peach took it. A sleep sachet? Gale looked pleased. Yes. And spray a bit of your usual perfume on it. That way, it will leave a faint scent of perfume. Every time Sam smells it before bed, he'll think of you. Thank you, Gale. Peach happily accepted it. Gale leaned closer and whispered, This is my trump card. Back in the day, I used the same sleep sachet to win over Shawn. Although, at the time, Shawn looked disgusted and did not want to accept her gift, he ended up using it and could not do without it. Men may not listen to what they say, but will notice what they do. Peach became even happier. If even Mr. Wood was subdued by it, then I'm sure. She did not dare to continue. Yes, I'll wait for your good news. Watching Peach's departing figure, Gale thought her job really had become a matchmaker, just as Shawn said. Here she was, worrying about Joe and Summer. There she was, worrying about Sam and Peach. And there was Orem and Ivy Park. She also thought of matching them up. She might as well open a matchmaking consultancy center and help people find partners professionally. Just as she was thinking this, someone suddenly tapped her shoulder. Gale was startled, quickly turned around, and looked. Joe. She breathed a sigh of relief. You really scared me. Do men walk around silently? You always seem to float over like ghosts, just like Shawn. Joe's face was serious as he pulled a chair and sat down next to her. What's wrong? Gale looked at him, asking tentatively, Did Summer reject you? No. Then why that expression? She neither rejected me nor accepted me. I feel a bit anxious, Joe said. He could not eat well, sleep well, or focus on work. However, he did not dare to go find her either. Unable to think of any other solution, Joe could only come to Gale for help. It's only been 3 days for her to consider. It's not time yet, Gale replied. Joe cut in, Do I really have to wait like a fool for 3 days? What do you want to do then? You go and ask. You're both girls, you share secrets. Help me find out. Gale shrugged. Honestly, I don't dare to ask either. Summer is quite determined. She has her own thoughts. If I go and speak well of you, she might guess right away that I'm sent by you. Why would she guess so quickly? Did you used to always be with her, crazily badmouthing me? Joe asked. No wonder we always missed each other slightly. It's you messing things up in between, ruining my marriage. Gale was speechless. This won't do, Gale. We had no grudges in the past. How could you treat me like this? Gale gave up explaining herself. Chapter 1788. Joe added, Breaking up relationships is the work of the devil. Gale, you're really crossing the line. You know how I've treated you all these years. I've never deceived or manipulated you. I even favored you between you and Shawn. I was even directly exiled. And yet, this how you treat me? What karma have I incurred? I've treated my friends with sincerity and loyalty, but I never expected to end up like this. Gale rubbed her temples. Shawn accused her of acting like a matchmaker, while Joe accused her of breaking up a marriage. Life was tough, indeed. She was wronged. All right, enough. Stop. Don't say any more. Gale stood up. I'll try to find out Summer's answer. But I can't guarantee anything. Of course, I'll speak up for you. Joe stood up and solemnly grasped her hand. My happiness depends on you. Gale suddenly felt a heavy sense of responsibility. Joe continued, Whether I can get married and have children in this lifetime all depends on you. It's not that extreme. Gale swallowed nervously. If Summer rejects you, don't take it too hard. There are plenty of fish in the sea, don't fixate on just this one. I only want this one. Gale became increasingly anxious. No, let's talk about this. Let's look at things positively and not get fixated. Don't dwell on it. Why did she feel like Joe would be heartbroken if rejected? She hurriedly tried to reassure him. Go then. Joe let go of her hand, patting her shoulder. I'll wait for your triumphant return. Gale hesitated as she stepped out, while Joe kept his gaze steady on her, never wavering. Gale nervously entered Summer's office. It's you. Summer glanced at her and then looked down. The water's over there, help yourself. I'm busy. You do your thing, I'm not thirsty. Summer's expression turned serious. If you have something to say, say it. If not, leave. If it's about Joe and me, save your breath. Gale had not even spoken yet, but Summer had already seen through her intentions. I'm concerned about your relationship. Joshua and Nicole are also curious. They keep asking me when their godparents will be together and give them a brother or sister to play with, Gale said. Summer's mouth twitched. What? Yes. They saw you and Joe making such a big fuss that night at Temperley Hall. Why would you tell the kids about this? I didn't say anything. They saw it themselves. Do you think kids nowadays are naive and easily fooled? They're smarter than you think and very perceptive. Summer clenched the pen in her hand. What's the situation now? Tell me, Gale smiled and sat down opposite her. You're keeping it from me, so you have no one else to confide in. I have nothing to say. So, have you made a decision? Chapter 1789. Summer stayed silent. Actually, in my personal opinion, I think you shouldn't feel too much pressure. Treat this relationship as a life experience. Don't think about marriage, having children, or mundane family matters. Those are still far away. A life experience like a fling? Summer asked. Yes, doesn't that lighten the burden? Gale suggested. Summer pursed her lips. As long as you have even a bit of affection for Joe, and there's nothing about him that you can't accept, then agree to be with him and have a thoroughly enjoyable love affair. Summer, it's in a woman's nature to be protected and relied upon. You're suggesting I start now to try living together and see if we're compatible? If you can't accept Joe into your life, then it'll be even harder with other men, Gale reasoned. Do you believe in love at first sight? Do you believe that one day, there'll be a charming prince who perfectly fits your ideals and loves you unconditionally? That's probably just a scam. Joe is that Prince Charming in the eyes of other women. Summer leaned back in her chair. After a quiet moment, she said, I understand what you're saying, Gale. You want someone by my side who understands me, cares for me, and becomes my support. Joe fits all those criteria. You're happy now, and you want me to settle down soon. Yes. Summer bit her lip, but I'm afraid that after investing in a relationship and giving too much, I won't be able to extricate myself in the end. I'm more afraid that after getting used to a life with someone, I'll revert back to being alone. One had to start somewhere. Summer agreed because she could not remain single forever. However, with a beginning, there would also be an end. At the beginning, everything is beautiful. What about at the end? Will it be a happy one? Of course, Summer hoped to meet someone and walk hand in hand with them until the end of her life. However, that was just her personal hope. Marriage involves two people. Did the other person share her thoughts? Did they also want a lifelong partner? Love requires courage. Summer, you can't refuse to start because you're afraid of the end. Joe is someone worth entrusting your life to, and I believe he'd be willing to grow old with you. But, to step back even if, in the end, you are to part ways, what then? You loved, laughed, tried, and have no regrets. With your personality, I believe you can move on. Besides, that's just the worst-case scenario. We have to believe in a good outcome. Summer let out a long sigh. She had thought a lot about it the past few days. Joe's face would appear in her mind whenever she had free time. She understood the reasoning, but she hesitated. Gale, I now realize that you're much braver than I am. It was shaky with you and Shawn, yet you're so happy now, Summer said. So, the endings are unknown and in our hands. Truly loving people will surely make it to the end. With that, Gale stood up. I'll leave the decision to you. I won't say much more to avoid confusing you. Just think it through, no regrets or hesitations. She circled around to Summer's side and gave her a big hug. Chapter 1790. Love is beautiful, just like your name, Gale said. Summer smiled at her. Gale met Joe's expectant gaze while walking out of the office. If he had not been afraid of Summer noticing him, he would have come rushing over to ask her. Gale walked back to her workstation. How did it go? Did you get any hint? Joe asked eagerly. Gale glanced around. How did you confess to her back then? Just like that, Joe said. Joe could not understand. How else could he confess? Just with words? Nothing else? Gale asked. I was there too. She was speechless. What about your usual tricks? Use them. When you and Summer were together for a month, did you not send flowers every day? You were quite resourceful and good at winning hearts, weren't you? How come you've not delivered now? Gale said. Joe fell silent. Gale continued, why no action now? Joe coughed, explaining, we were already in a relationship, even if it was only for a month. Our relationship was clear. Naturally, with my status as her boyfriend, I could give her anything. You can still give her gifts now. Now? Under what pretext? She has not accepted me yet, I'm not anyone to her. Gale was stunned by his reasoning. Are you saying because you're nobody, you cannot send flowers? Not exactly, Joe thought for a moment but did not know how to explain. You should be more attentive to her. Is not the status of a suitor enough? Or the status of a future boyfriend? Do you always need a status to do something? You need to pursue Summer vigorously, not just with words, but with actions. I did act, I confessed, Joe replied. You confessed just with words, what actions did you take? Is coming to my house considered action? What should I do then? Joe was perplexed. Despite his usual ease among women, appearing comfortable and casual, it was all a facade. He never put his heart into it. He could easily handle a large group of women with his emotional intelligence. However, as he earnestly pursued Summer, he felt that those superficial tricks could not be used on her. She was different from those other women. She was unique. Gale looked him up and down and then shook her head. I thought you were leagues ahead of Shawn. However, when it comes to real action, you're still an amateur. Shawn appeared as if he would never pursue women. Whereas Joe, despite appearing skillful and carefree, was actually clueless. Comparatively, Joe was at a disadvantage. Shawn looked clueless, so whenever he said a few sweet words, it was enough to make a woman's heart blossom, feeling special in his eyes. However, for Joe, if his methods were too ordinary, women would not accept them, feeling he was not sincere. Let me give you a tip, you can confidently go and do it. On the last night of the 3-day deadline Summer mentioned, you should take her out. Gale said, beckoning with her finger. They whispered excitedly, growing more animated with each word.